Joe Budden says Rory snaked Julian and fired him before he got the big deal.
If Rory is not my son, that fired Julian right before the big deal came. Rory be pulling out of my playbook, boy. Oh man, do you think Rory claps back?
I think Rory will clap back in the way that he always claps back.
Ignoring people or passive aggressiveness?
Nah, when he said that I got paid 40,000, that you pot up crazy.
He planted it. He planted a seed. It worked for a month or two.
That means it worked.
It worked for. It was a small tree. It was a small plant.
He might plant a seed. I think he's gonna plant a seed with Julian, and I think it might grow.
Yes, on a recent Twitter space, Joe Budden commented on the ongoing saga between Julian and Rory and Mal. Julian was a producer for the Rory and Mal show, but over the end of 2024, they would decide to fire Julian seemingly after he asked for a raise or because of the lack of work that was going on behind the scenes. I don't know what was going on, but there was something happening. And Joe Budden would say that Rory and Mal fired Julian because they got the big volume deal. Yes, that's right. Right after Rory and Mal fired Julian, they signed a deal with Colin Cowherd's The Volume, who also seemingly has a partnership with iHeart. And it was just an interesting foray into kind of the politics. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's true, but it is Joe Budden trying to usurp the narrative that he was the bad guy in their breakup. And I mean, I guess it's a good job by him because Rory and Mal, they've dealt with a lot of issues in terms of people leaving their show. There was Carl, who lost the cameras. Then there was Julian, who got let go. And there was a couple people behind the scenes. Now, I'm not going to say that folks like Yomi or Rel were actually dismissed or if they left because of the toxic work environment, but there was just a lot of turnover at the Rory and Mal podcast. On top of that, there was Eden, who had to be let go from the show because he punched Julian. So there is a lot of turnover at the Rory and Mal podcast, and none other than Joe Budden is enjoying it. Another thing Joe Budden did was call Rory his son. Now, over the last 6 months, Rory has been catching the eye of Joe Budden, and Joe has been championing him, acting like he's the best podcaster he ever met. But you see with this statement that it's really all just posturing and an attempt by Joe Budden to divide Rory and Mal because as I have unearthed in previous episodes, especially around the time of the breakup, Joe Budden always was making Rory seem like a snaky white boy who was upending the structure of his podcast. But now, several years removed, he's acting like Rory was the best thing since Game Boy. And Mal was the one that dictated the terms because back then, Joe Budden was saying he wanted to talk to Mal. He loved Mal. He wanted to speak with Mal when Rory wasn't present. But Mal would make things impossible as Joe Budden would unearth some serious allegations towards Mal, making him appear to be lazy, making him appear to be too cool for school, and also making it look like he was a broke bum who lived off of him for years. And I think for Mal, that was a bridge too far. So Mal would cut him off with the ease. And I think that shocked Joe Budden. So he pivoted towards acting like he wasn't cool with Mal and embracing Rory as his bestie. But this just goes to show you, although that's fake, it's not true. None of it is real. And it's just Joe having a good old messy time. And we'll have to see how Julian, Rory, and Mal all respond to this because I don't know if you guys know this. On the last episode of Julian's podcast, he did the most views he's done in, I think, a couple of months. He was doing like 500 views, 80 views. It was looking bad. And I mean, he looked like he was being affected by the whole situation in terms of what his mental health was going through. And I'm going to be honest. Things might fall through, but I'm going to be in the interest of transparency. I have an interview with both Julian and Rory coming up. I'm going to be sitting in the studio talking to both of them. I'm going to unearth the facts. If there's any questions you want me to ask either of them, let me know. The plan is for me to interview Rory, then interview Julian, then be on Julian's show. Something wrong with the pod. I can't wait if it does happen, because there's a lot of things happening. Things fall through. There's things going on in the back channels. And I am no secret to a podcast break. I love the fact that I've been a part of some tumultuous relationships in podcasting. I see folks trying to start a pod based off hating on me. They call themselves the Big Three. Oh, by golly, good oh my. Please start it. I can't wait. Mandy, Shammy, and you know who? Oh, baby. I think that'll be something great for the podcast landscape, but even better for me, because it's really hard to keep a podcast going. And that's evidenced by Rory, Joe, Maul, and of course, me. But let me know what you think about Joe taking shots at how things are unfolding between Rory, Maul, and Julian. This was all done on Twitter Spaces, so I guess follow Joe if you're interested in keeping up with the mess. I think that moving forward, Rory and Maul they're doing fine. I gotta be honest. Their show, even though I liked it a lot with Julian, it's still really, really good. It's still great. And for the most part, it's really hard to tell in terms of quality level which version was better. I know on the Reddit boards and on the, Twitter and also in my YouTube comments, a lot of people were like happy that Julian's gone. But I end this video with a question to you listeners. How can you tell if a podcast has gotten worse or if it has gotten better? I feel like I know the metrics. I feel like I know, for me, I can tell the podcast is getting worse if I can't finish the podcast. So basically a change of behavior, a change of patterns. Also, you can tell when the chemistry starts to fade, when certain topics get cut off, or when certain segments don't get brought up, when certain segues don't happen. But I'm wondering about all of you in my comment section who listen to the podcast that I report on. What are your metrics for a podcast falling off? Because I think that's a discussion that needs to be ironed out. It needs to be broken down, and it needs to be solidified so that way we can truly begin the process of evaluating podcasts as a collective. In our dialogue, a lot of times we go based off feelings. Oh, this podcast fell off. It's not the same. The podcast without Julian isn't as good when it was, or what Damaris talks more. She's better. So I leave that challenge to you in the comments, and let's do the science. Please follow me on Patreon. Any of you wanting me to talk about Rocky, that's going to happen on Patreon. It's not going to happen nowhere else, buddy. Got to save it for there because I don't think people care like that. But I do think my most ardent listeners or supporters, if you will, people that pay, not that I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong with not paying. I'm not trying to be like arrogant, but you got to pay to support me. That's not at all what I'm doing. But if you are interested in what happened between me and Rocky, you got to go to my Patreon. It's pretty cheap, $3, and I think you'll see a lot of the drama unfold in real time, space by space, video by video. I'm going to be doing a video most likely soon about the whole thing, the whole situation. Also on the Patreon, there's a back catalog of over 250 pieces of content. On top of that, a lot of the Rory Julian interview will be living there, but there'll be clips on YouTube. But I'm like, the whole episode I might just put on Patreon. So just stay tuned there and you will see what's going on behind the wall. All right, y'all. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.